We've seen and heard this before.
It's really when, not if, that this arrives.
The retiring Chief Medical Officer's new dire warning about H5N1.
This virus is changing very quickly.
Bird flu spreading between 580 species worldwide, wiping out animals en masse like elephant seals and condors. Cases reported around the world, including 20 human infections in the US. If it reaches here, the endangered Tasmanian devils, dingoes, quolls and Australian sea lions all risk being wiped out.
We have a naive population that could be absolutely massacred by this.
Generally speaking, it is animals which congregate where the disease spreads.
Australian zoos covering aviaries with tarps. The federal government today announcing $100 million for surveillance and vaccinations to help protect the nation's chickens and eggs.
We in this country produce about 18.9 million eggs a day. It's something that I don't know that we are going to be able to handle quite well on the supply chain, unfortunately.
And just like COVID, there's a national response. Environment ministers from around the country will hold emergency talks on Friday. With spring peak bird migration season, the message will be all too familiar.
It's about us getting ahead of the curve.
Hayden Nelson, 7 News.
Sri Lanka has closed schools in the capital Colombo and other areas as heavy rains triggered floods in many parts of the island nation. Heavy downpours over the weekend have wreaked havoc in many parts of the country. Now, heavy rains have flooded homes, fields and roads, and according to the country's disaster management center, 3 people have drowned, while some 134,000 people have been affected by flooding.
In this area, we usually only get 1 or 2 days of rain every year. However, this year, we have gotten 2 periods of rainfall. Even about 4 months ago, we got flooded just like this. People's belongings, houses and shops all got flooded. People have lost everything.
The center said rains and floods have damaged 240 houses and nearly 7,000 people have been evacuated. Authorities have cut electricity in some areas as a precaution. Navy and Army troops have been deployed to rescue victims and provide food and other essentials. Local television channels showed flooded towns in the suburbs of Colombo, and in some areas water reached the roofs of houses and shops.
By now, out of 40,516 families, 158,391 people have suffered. 79 of our rescue centers are currently holding and taking care of 2,470 families. And there are 10,369 members in these families. Due to this disaster, there have been 3 reported deaths.
Moving to Nigeria, where 2 major rivers have flooded across central Nigeria, displacing tens of thousands of people. Now, rescue workers in Kogi State have been helping residents move away from the confluence of the Niger and Benue rivers to displacement camps or nearby villages.
For the past 10 to 15 years now, we are suffering a lot of hardship. Apart from that, the water has been disturbing every community. Like me, as I'm talking to right now, I have a house in this place, built. The one at the back of me now is my house. And for the past 4 or 5 years, water has been disturbing us frequently. We'll go, we'll come back. And as it is now, we have nowhere to even go to now.
I was sleeping in the night. The next thing,
We were sleeping at night and it was my son who woke up to go to the bathroom and discovered that the water had submerged the house and everything was flooded.
covered the house and everywhere was filled up with the flood.
So far, according to the Red Cross, there were more than 60,000 people displaced and about 60,000 hectares of land underwater. Now, Kogi State's Information Commissioner Kingsley Femi said that displacement camps were becoming overwhelmed and estimated that more than 1 million people could be in the affected areas. The floods have been mounting for the past month, hitting densely populated areas, including parts of the state capital. In Ibaji district, more than 3/4 of the land have been inundated.
We actually wanted to appeal.
We wanted to appeal to the federal government and the state to help the community, to at least get some housing, some land where we could build houses, a place where, when we have floods, we can take our families to stay safe.
Then we can unpack our family down to that place for a rescue.
Nigeria often sees floods during the May to November rainy season, but there are fears that this year's could be worse than 2022, when more than 500 people died. However, so far no deaths have been reported. this time. Now, floods in Maiduguri, capital of the northeastern state of Borno, in September left at least 37 dead. Officials and residents often blame flood damage on climate change, as well as poor planning, construction along the riverbanks, and the release of water from dams.
Stroke of this pen, California Governor Gavin Newsom signed into law a bill giving that state's energy regulators the authority to require oil refineries to keep some fuel on hand at all times.
One of the principal issues that was holding back our capacity to tame these price spikes was the issue around supply, issues around maintenance, issues around refineries.
But here in Arizona, the fear amongst politicians is that California's new law could create gas shortages in our state, driving up prices at the pump. Before the bill was signed, Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs sent a joint letter with Nevada's Republican governor to Newsom, sharing their concerns over the bill. Weeks earlier, Arizona House Republicans sent a similar letter. We asked drivers in Phoenix how they would feel if a law in California would cause gas prices here to go up.
It doesn't seem quite right. If it's in California, why is it affecting Arizona?
Not good. Not good. There are no oil refineries in Arizona, meaning our state relies almost completely on gas imported from Texas and California. In an August report cited in Governor Hobbs's letter, the California Energy Commission said a result of stock minimums for refineries and terminals might create an artificial shortage in downstream markets.
We're still going to have to get gas. I would not like it if it jacked up the prices at all.
In the end, this is now the law in California, although some specifics are still being figured out.
And big oil that knowingly continues to lie to the people of this state, our nation, for that matter, around the world. They are the polluted heart of this climate crisis.
And again, the full impacts of that California law and what we'll see in Arizona, only time will really tell. We did reach back out to Governor Katie Hobbs's office to see if she had a comment now that this bill was signed into law. We did not hear back today. Governor Newsom says in terms of the impact it will have in California, he expects drivers to start seeing some sort of impact next summer at the earliest. For now, reporting.
نهار السبت صارت الغارة واستهدفوا البيت كله 16 شهيد 21 جريح الله يرحمه وإن شاء الله يكون مسكنهم الجنة. نحن قوية بإذن الله وصامدين بأرضنا وبلدنا.
شباب تي ار تي انتوا صح؟ إذا في إنه يجوا يرفع عليك.
국경선부군의 고경연합 부대들과 중요 임무 수행 부대들이 사격 충격 태세를 갖추기 위한 지시를 가까운 지역이 초기 발생지라는 사실은 우리로 하여금 깊이 공상 모든 것이 너무도 명백히 한 것을 가리키게 되었는 바 저도 용서할 수도 없는 중대 도발이 국가 주권과 안전에 대한 자본적인 침해다.
우리 군은 북한군 동향을 예의주시하면서 실제 도발 가능성에 대한 만반의 대비 태세를 갖추고 있습니다.
The U.S. is sending 100 troops and an anti-missile system to Israel to help bolster Israel's air defenses. It's not the first time the U.S. has deployed the anti-missile system to the Middle East, but it's rare for the U.S. troops to deploy inside Israel. The move deepens U.S. involvement in the growing Middle East war and comes after 4 Israeli soldiers were killed Sunday in a Hezbollah drone attack on an army base in central northern Israel. The incident is one of the bloodiest attacks on Israel since the beginning of the war last October.
it's time for Lefties Losing It. And let's start with the many accents of chameleon Kamala. She can go from Ivy League to the ghetto.
So, friends, 64 days. Let's just get through the next 64 days. How about that?
She's even pulled out a little Latino heat in recent weeks, but I believe this may be the first time she's tried a Jamaican accent.
Have you no empathy, man?
Yes.
You know, for the suffering of other people. Have you no sense of purpose?
She's so authentic, so likeable and competent. Of course, I jest. Now, Kamala has a man problem, and it's not just Doug knock him out, Emhoff. No, he's not the only one causing her headaches. But the fact that so many American men, including black men, do not want to vote for her. Now, the reasons are numerous. They're real and valid reasons. But of course, the simplistic take is that these men must be sexist. Here is Barack Obama lecturing the brothers, as he calls them, on why they must back Kamala.
We have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers.
He then went on to lecture them about why they must pick Kamala and why any reluctance must be due to what sexist, misogynist monsters they are.
You just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that. And so now you're thinking about sitting out or even supporting somebody who has a history of denigrating you because you think that's a sign of strength, because that's what being a man is, putting women down. That's not acceptable.
Now, that little rant inspired some feedback from members of the black community, male and female.
I want Barack Obama and every Democrat out there to know, you do not own black people. We are not slaves. Our chains are gone. We do not owe you anything, and we don't have to give you an account for how we choose to vote.
The Democrats then unleashed Barack Obama into the wild to shame us black men for not supporting Kamala Harris, despite the fact that she's yet to unveil any policies that represent our interests. But if it was a white politician shaming other white men for not voting based on identity politics, y'all will call him racist. Why is it okay for Barack Obama, Kamala Harris, and all these other people that supposedly look like me, why is it okay for them to get on TV and shame me for not voting for them simply because they look like me? That is racist, brother. I don't know how else to put it. That is racism. I don't have to vote for Kamala because she's quote-unquote black, just like I shouldn't have voted for yo because you got up there, you tap dance for the establishment, and you ain't do a goddamn for the black people that put you in office. You, brother.
You ain't did a thing for us in the 8 years that you was in the White House. And you think you gonna pop up during an election year and try to scold black men for not wanting to vote for your candidate? Have you lost mind?
I spent 7 years of my life fighting your administration, you and Biden, by the way, for my husband's military benefits. My daughter died because of Obamacare. I don't give a about you.
This message is for President Obama. First and foremost, you're not going to tell me what I'm going to do and what I'm not going to do. Number one, I ain't going to vote for Kamala Harris. I think that she's going to make a bad president. She's a bad vice president. Everything she does, she tries to politicize it, and she hasn't shown the fact that she wants to put America first ever. So I'm not voting for that individual.
What you thought you was doing, Barack Obama? Boy, you didn't step out there. All you did was black men off, bruh. All you did was black men off. Why y'all think the American people why y'all think the Democrat Party own black folk? The Democrat Party don't own black folks, bruh. What you thought you was doing with that? We see the play. We know, we see the play. Kamala Harris is losing. She's not going to win.
The audacity of you to say to us that we are required and we better vote for Kamala Harris and that we don't want to see a woman in a position of power. You're a liar.
That's just a sample, folks. Plenty more where that came from. Now let's check in with the man who Kamala Harris handpicked as her running mate, Tim Walz. Here, Tim tries to reload a gun. This is the man they picked to inject masculinity and country vibes into the campaign. They set up this contrived hunt to showcase that masculinity and gun prowess. It's not working out too well there. That is just appalling stuff.